Welcome back, dweebs. This is episode 3, the review of Daredevil episode 3. I get screwed up there, Kev, because I have to start, and I'm like, wait a second, this is not a normal weekly show. So I'm like, where the fuck am I supposed to go with this? And then I see a cuss in the first 3 minutes. We're a train.
Woo! Welcome.
Kev, how are we, buddy?
I am living the dream, sir. I hope everyone's doing well in the chat. I had the pleasure of watching this episode twice, so I'm nice and locked in. I think I remember everything I need to remember, and now might be as good a time as any for me to throw this bad boy up. Woo!
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
There's going to be mega spoilers, major spoilers. If you've not watched episode 3 of Daredevil, please go watch it first and then come back, unless you don't care. If you don't care, then do your thing. But
yeah, we'll spoil
we're going to ruin this. Headbug, we're broken. It's too early for us. On Wednesdays, we're not in full fine shape until 9 o'clock, till about 3 o'clock in the morning your time. So, not ready. We got the review of Hollow is the Hand, episode 3 of Daredevil Born Again. No Daredevil this episode, Kev. Not a single one. Not a single second. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think? We can start wherever you want with this one. I've got some thoughts.
We'll go ahead and start right there. No Daredevil this episode. I don't really like it. Generally speaking, I would hate it. Here's my however, I am a real dweeb for courtroom procedurals, and I love me some John Grisham-esque courtroom back and forth. So I was having an okay time with it anyway. I will tell you this. When Charlie Cox is done with all this business and he is retired from his role in the MCU, I am dying for an old man Charlie Cox in like an other world where he's just a retired Daredevil for real because he's too old, but he's still the best damn lawyer in New York. And I will watch seasons of that.
He won't be retired from Daredevil then. They'll still make that show.
Well, right. Yeah, I just mean from like the being Daredevil. Like he
I thought you meant like he's done with the
Matt
MCU.
Murdock, Esquire, old man, just playing, just doing a Matlock deal. I want it.
Got it. I'm on board with that. I also really liked it. I wasn't sure I felt how much they didn't do this as much in the old shows where they were really honing in on him. Like they'd stop it and they like hone in on his senses, aka his hearing sense and like hearing conversations. It's used for really dramatic effect this episode, and I really enjoyed it. Like a lot of the courtroom stuff.
Yeah, it's a nice little taste, I guess. If you're going to do a Daredevil show, you kind of have to do that, right? You have to have some moments. They do quite a few. Like they have some transitions too, where it starts in all black. I think when they're out by the pier or something, they did that where you could hear it first. Yeah. So I think in a show where your protagonist is blind, the audio is always going to be huge. It's going to be crucial to get there. And I did enjoy, I mean, not only do you have the courtroom scene where he clearly can tell that his partner is anxiously looking at the door. He's not even really trying to hide the fact that he can just notice these things. But when he has his girlfriend over later, it was fun to watch him pantomime through it. Like he would do things that a blind person would do because his girlfriend doesn't know him yet, I guess.
Like the part where she grabs both glasses.
Yeah, like he just holds his hand out. Yep, exactly. When he's pouring that glass, he puts his other finger on the rim of it as a way to kind of tell how much he's pouring. At one point, he
Oh
lifts
yeah.
pot ups and uses his hand to feel the
And
steam. So like he does a bunch of stuff that we all know he doesn't need to do any of that, but love those little attentions to detail. But yeah, he could have just had one Daredevil fight, and then it would have been a
zero Daredevil
absolute
fights. No
cinema.
costume. No horn. We got to see the broken horn once. That was literally it. And it didn't bother me as much as I thought. Looking back on like talking about right now, because so much of it was focused on that courtroom scene and all what was going on there. Like, I was pretty okay with it. Now that's a whole different. Well, how do you feel? How do you feel about old Matt Murdock and his courtroom tactics? He really stuck it to that judge.
He's a
Right.
real Dr. House type lawyer.
What's up, bite-sized Vikes?
What up, John?
Kev's world. He's slowly working his way out of glasses into contacts. He's growing up so much, John. He's growing up so fast.
Yeah, we're going back.
You get the dumb witness. See, okay, I want to call out one thing I don't understand, and maybe you can help me because you watch more courtroom drama shows than me, maybe. We've got a case of this guy accused of killing a New York PD cop, and half the courtroom is filled with New York PD cops. I find that like that wouldn't happen, right? Like, isn't that essentially a conflict of interest in a way? Like, all his fucking everything gets fucked up by them being in the room and like trying to use intimidation tactics, right?
Well, you might not be wrong there. I do think, generally speaking, they used to do. I think the first episode of The Wire, the detectives are hanging out. They're watching the case that they built in trial. They're watching, I believe it was Stringer Bell get off again, phrasing, but they're watching him be let free. And so I do think that cops are allowed in there. However, I would imagine the kind of judge that would say, "Hey, we're striking this vigilante evidence from the record," but also say, "Yeah, you're not allowed to flood the courtroom with cops either. That's a bit of an intimidation tactic."
Right.
But it's a murdered cop as well, so they could lean into the bereavement factor of like, well, that's a brother in arms, and cop killers don't usually get favors from anybody. So that whole thing was a little odd. I think the way they used it worked okay though, because now you have at least a few suspects. Clearly, one guy had a Punisher tattoo on his neck, so you know he's in on it. But they cut to the same female officer several times. Like they sort of alluded to, like this corruption is outside of just the 15th district, that it's maybe all over the police department. And then you have Nicky, whatever his name is, the that rat
Torres,
Nicky
this whole
Torres.
fucking
There
rat
it is.
bastard.
Yeah, you have him. Well, first of all, accept free drugs and then not do his job. Which, if that ain't,
he's a bad informant. If that's what's going on, folks.
No wonder he was getting beat up. If you've been giving the cops that same treatment, then
you deserve
or he's getting beat up on the metro. But I think it paints the larger picture as well that this is a big corrupt cop group, this little mini Punisher version of I don't even know goddamn not Shield. What is it? I can't think of their names right now. But anyway, they've got their own little supervillain group of bad cops, crooked cops, so much so to the point that Nicky Torres is not willing.
He's scared shitless.
Yeah, he's not willing to tell the truth. And, you know, we see how long and how well that acquittal goes anyway. So I don't know.
We'll get to that.
Whole city's corrupt. They need a Rorschach.
I think Muse is coming. He might be. He's not gonna be the Rorschach.
These comments cracking me up.
I know that the comments are wild today. As Stu is nowhere to be found again. A lot of simps in the chat. Bug says. Yeah, when Nicky fucking pusses out, it wrecks all holy hell. And then I love the scene where he shows the mask, everybody freaks out. because nobody knows he's going to do it. And then the judge pulls him in the back room. He's like, "You're making a mockery of my court, Murdoch." The other judge, the other attorney's pissed off. He's freaking out. It's such a fun little fucking back and forth back there.
Felt like an episode of The Wire again. I think there's that's one of the reasons I love this episode, despite not getting the titular character
I think it's
involved.
a good episode. I really enjoyed this episode. I don't know how accurate it is, but every time Matt Murdock goes into like lawyer mode and starts throwing out terms and laws and etc., right? I'm like, they hired somebody to write this that fucking knows it, or got somebody to help them, because I'm like, he's saying shit. And I'm like, he sounds like a fucking lawyer. I don't know if any of it's fucking real or true, but it sounds real. And he sounds like I want to be like, you got lawyered, sir.
If there's any profession that I think prepares you for the grind and gives you a leg up for the job of writing, it's lawyer. You know, like there's a ton of writing, and you know, you've got to prepare, especially if you're an actual like defense or prosecuting attorney and you're going out talking to juries. Like you've got to write these things out. And yeah, you're probably right. There's been a few of those. What is it? David Baldacci? I can't remember. There's a pretty famous spy thriller type government novelist who was a lawyer who's writing for 4 hours a day in the middle of the night and then doing freaking trials by day. So
nothing about that. That's
yeah, dude.
Kev's
so they're out there. John Grisham maybe wrote this.
They exist. So I love that. So you get him up on stage. I want to stop and pause and acknowledge that the actor of White Tiger, Camar de los Reyes, I think Kev mentioned this last week and it completely, I didn't even notice it when he said it. I didn't realize he passed away from cancer. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. I completely missed that. I think you said it last week, but it kind of just went just like whoop in one ear, out the other. So it's wild that, yeah, he just in between filming it and this, he's passed away. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. I do believe, however, that none of the reshoots involved that. I think that was always the plan, because in the comics, both his niece and his sister at one point take the mantle because the power is in the amulet. Remember?
Yeah. So do you know much about this White Tiger? I don't. All I know is that this is some amulet they've got, and then he's the man. So Jen just popped. What up, Jen? Says, so sad he died. I loved him on my soap opera as a kid. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about the White Tiger. I want to pull up, see what.
Yeah, I know very, very brief and shallow amount of knowledge. He's, I think, from around the 70s, a Puerto Rican superhero, probably the first Puerto Rican superhero. Don't quote me on that, and I know that his family members took on the mantle throughout the different comic runs. So I believe they were probably setting this up already, and that this wasn't part of.
I don't think it was. Even if you wouldn't have told me that he passed away, I wouldn't see it that way. Like I think this was pretty how they were going to end this arc, right? Like, so mega spoilers here. Obviously, been said it the whole time. He gets acquitted and immediately gets murdered in cold blood.
By definitely not the Punisher.
Absolutely not the Punisher, right? No fucking. So, okay, what are your thoughts here? So we've got these Punisher tattoos. We've got this guy walking around. Do you think? I don't think they're involved with the Punisher. Like, I don't think at all. I think this is some rogue group of cops that believes in him, hangs their Punisher flags, etc., gets their tattoos, but has nothing actually to do with him.
Yeah, I think they've misunderstood likely what the symbol represents,
yes,
you know, kind of taken it for themselves. That's what I imagine, at least what I hope for. And I don't know if it'll be next week or the week after that, is the retribution that these gangsters will feel when they meet the real Punisher. I think
right. They are what he's against.
Right.
He's coming for him, and I think you're probably right. I bet it's next week.
Be like when Jesus comes down, he's like, "Why are y'all wearing crosses? The hell? That's horrifying.
Like, what are you doing?
That is a misrepresentation of my story." No, I don't want to see those things, man. That's creeping me out. No, so Punisher's going to get real mad that they are using his sign. And this is my thing too, James, and maybe you have some thoughts on this. We were told over and over again how gruesome and visceral this show was going to be. And I can't act like that last shot wasn't pretty lingering. Like that was a lot. It was pretty shocking. But what I think is going to happen is once we get Frank Castle's going to get involved here very soon because Matt Murdock will wake up to the fact that justice can't be served. So let's go after
That's
punishment.
what that happens here, right? Like that's what's coming.
Yep. I think so. And then we'll get all that action and then some when either Daredevil and Punisher or just the Punisher goes through and starts cleaning these fools up. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, like because from everything we heard before, it was going to be super dark, super bloody. It got that crazy rating in Europe. However, to this point, I would say it's on par with the original, but not anything worse, right? Like nothing. Like either Broken Bone last episode was really bad. Like there's a couple like lingering ones that you're like, ew, like when they kill him here. And then they shoots him again. It's pretty grotesque, but it's not out of the realm of the first show or like the first series, right? Like I don't think it sticks out any more than that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Maybe a little more blood. There seems to be a little bit more blood, from the broken arm last week when they shoot the guy in the beginning of this episode that splashes blood. Like I think there's more blood, but like Headbug said, I don't see anything yet that deserves that UK 18 plus rating. And I think that's probably coming. This is the moment the Punisher comes in, and the next episode is going to open with Charlie Cox just being like, the fucking system's broken. Because he talked about it with his dinner date with his girlfriend where he's like, sometimes the system works. Well, it didn't because he's dead. He didn't make it very long.
And he will immediately regret that decision and eventually get back to being Daredevil. I'm not too worried about it, but
I enjoyed this episode a lot. So like, I'm pretty okay with it. Keeping him out within the confines of the story is right. That's fine with me, right? Like it makes sense. This episode's focused solely on that till the very end. Makes sense not to have Minute. Just to not have Minute, then it's a problem.
Yeah, it almost would have felt shoehorned in probably to have just a random Daredevil sequence at night.
Yeah. Like he's going after that cop, right? That fucking cop that stops him in the bathroom that he beat up last week that I thought he actually killed.
Yeah, how did that guy not die?
I'm surprised.
But also negates some of the nasty, gruesome shit we saw because that broken neck was apparently just a black eye.
Yeah, I thought he killed that son of a bitch. So that was
the head against the fridge. What a concussion.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh, yeah. And nobody's asking about like, what happened to you, bud? The other guy, his arm snapped, and I assume the other guy's dead, but we don't talk about it, so maybe not. That's a fun interaction too in the bathroom where he's like, and he just starts throwing out the legal terms, and he's like, "Get the fuck out of here! You've been lawyered."
Yeah.
And then that guy tries to stop. So that's another gripe I have. Then he tries to stop the van, and we don't bring that up. Hey, cop, who was just on the stand, why are you trying to stop this guy from being here? What's going on? Little gap. There's a little hole in the story there. Just saying.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Maybe Cherry just knew better than to say anything because they would just give him more attention. It's interesting, though, they're already on to him, so they know that Cherry is Murdock's PI. So how much longer is he going to even be part of this show? Because he's vital to Murdock's operation. And I don't know, James, I think that's my next question for you. We all know the Punisher's coming. We all know the violence is coming.
Yep.
Is this the moment that triggers it, or will there be something else like Cherry getting caught in the
I
line
think
of duty?
this
Like,
is
is
the
this enough to snap
beginning.
him?
I think this is the beginning. I think this breaks him, and then I think how it's going to go is it breaks him. They're going to look into this. They're going to figure out that there's this Punisher connection, right? So then he's going to go hunting Punisher, who I don't actually know what the end of his story is in the Punisher. I don't remember it all, but suddenly he's going to get drug into it, and they're going to find out it's this corrupt organization that's probably Fisk is behind something, right? I'm not sure exactly yet. And then all hell's going to fucking break loose.
Yeah, and speaking of Fisk, I'm glad you mentioned him. What are your estimations for why his knuckles are always so bloody?
I agree. So you beat me to that question that I don't have it. He's absolutely still doing. He's beating somebody up. Somebody's getting their ass kicked.
Maybe it's that Adam dude.
I wondered that, but no, he wouldn't do that because of Vanessa. He said that. So the question is, who does he keep beating up?
I heard it theorized that maybe he's just in a gym somewhere punching a wall because he's just taking out his frustrations, and he's doing what he can to turn over this new leaf. I'm not a follower of that theory. That's just a theory that I've heard, and I don't have too many myself outside of that he's either just beating up some of his aides and they're getting paid to take the punishment, or my only thought is that maybe he's lying to his wife about where her ex-fling or whatever Adam was. They don't go into it a whole lot, but those two are clearly unhappy.
Yeah.
So I wonder where his stress relief is coming from, because he seems so far to be out of the game. James, did you notice when the mayor's assistant came to talk to the gangsters about the 1.8 and all that stuff?
Yes.
He said, tell the mayor to talk to me himself. I don't take orders from the mayor's errand boy. And he said, I don't work for the mayor. I work for the man. So that,
and then we find out the next
Vanessa.
scene is Vanessa. Yep.
Yeah. So the man is Vanessa. So she is still very much.
She was supposed to be out of it, but now she's in it, and he's mad. So he talks about he's got loftier goals, right? And then they get in an argument, and they don't discuss why, right? So he doesn't want Vanessa involved with that because he wants to let the rats, as he calls them, fight a little bit, scurry around and fucking fight over territory, etc., right? And Vanessa wants that cleaned up because while he was gone, she was the kingpin running it all. He doesn't want her caught in it because he's got loftier goals. I don't know what said loftier goals are than the mayor of New York, unless he's going to try to be the president or some fucking wild shit, which would be kind of odd.
It's all it could be. Show. Well, the show is, or the position is suddenly open, potentially. At least, spoiler alert, we know Thaddeus Ross won't be running again. Yep. So we got a lame duck VP sitting in the White House there. Maybe Mr. Fisk is pushing for the Oval Office. That's the only thing I could think of. Is, as you mentioned, when it comes to a New York-based show, not even like it's not even all of New York, right? Like Daredevil is set in a place where like you can't get Spider-Man involved. You've got Luke Cage around. You've got all these other superheroes. So it's like centered around a few blocks in New York. You know, we keep hearing a lot about Red Hook and obviously Hell's Kitchen. Yeah. So I don't know what those higher goals could be, but it seems like Vanessa has gotten a taste for the Kingpin life and got addicted to that success. Because by all accounts, she was way better at it than he is.
Much better, and just didn't beat up everybody and kill everybody. Love the power, and then lost it all because he returned from the dead. For lack of it, I mean, that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, just walked in and interrupted her meeting, got a meeting canceled.
Interrupted her fucking new boyfriend, all that shit.
Dude, like,
yeah, so that storyline to me is, I'm not sure where it's going. I think the therapy sessions are really funny because they're fucking like they're fighting right before she walked in. She's like, "Oh, let us continue."
Yeah, where were we?
At some point, they're gonna figure out that's Matt Murdock's girlfriend. I want to shout out they mentioned the gangster scene, and I want to shout out, I don't know who that actor is that plays the right-hand man of Vanessa. He's so fucking good in that, where he's like, here's just 1.8, and they're like trying to talk him down. He just fucking cooks him across the board. And then he's like, I don't work for the man. I don't work for the mayor. I work for the man. He's really good. No Muse this episode. We don't see anything with that. And no Daredevil. But overall, I still enjoyed the episode.
To have a smooth talking British assistant.
I could use a smooth talking British assistant if anybody wants. I don't pay anything though, so pay $0. Overall, I really liked it, Kev. I did. I thought it was a good episode. I was pretty happy with it. You're muted.
Yeah, same here. I thought it was good. Yeah, it seems like I've got some technical difficulties over here.
So we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. So far, so good.
Where do we think this storyline with the young reporter is going? Because her footage is very prominent at the start of every episode, and then she got drawn into Fisk's office to record some stuff that she's obviously going to post. What do we think is going to happen there?
Well, we see that she tries to check him early in his rant or whatever, his monologue. So what I think is going to happen there is she's not going to play his game for long, right? Like eventually having the access to the mayor will be overweighed by what her actual job is as a reporter trying to represent the people. And because her uncle is Ben Urich, I imagine she's going to end up in Kingpin's crosshairs. She's going to go from ally to enemy, and it might be at that weird crypto bro's expense too. He might be a goner. He's already making enemies with the chief of staff.
Yeah. He's a goofy looking bastard. Very goofy. Any final comments, Kev, before we bounce out of here? You got a big night ahead of you.
Ooh, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the big tier list tonight. Gonna be
one. The freaks are here.
A whole lot of fun.
The little freaks arrive tonight, folks. It'll be live here in a little bit. I'm building the old thumbnail. It'll be up the next 30 minutes. So we will be back. We actually probably won't be talking Daredevil next week because I'm going to be gone the back half of next week. So we'll probably double up in 2 weeks. Make it easy. But we'll be back Monday on the Weekly Dweeb as always. We'll be live in 2 hours and 31 minutes doing the Little Freaks tier list on Han Shot first. Everybody's been waiting. It's finally here, folks. Kev, anywhere else you want to shout out before we bounce out of here? Stu is terrible today. It's too early for him. Apparently never shows up for the show. Fuck you, Stu.
Stu is taking a nap. No, shout out to everybody in chat. Please don't get me confused with Louis C.K. That'd probably be good. We'll be over on Carnage Unleashed here in about an hour, talking about the latest in the MMA game. And then, of course, we'll see all of you dweebs here, as James said, in just over 2.5 hours. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, Turgle is getting added to the... Oh, that's a good one, Harles. Turgle to the Little Freaks tier. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like Turgle. I'm typing him in right now, so I don't forget him. Shout out everybody in the chat. We'll see you guys 2.5 hours for the Little Freaks tier. Till next time, folks, we shall see you.